If there's one thing celebrity weddings have mastered, it's making the impossible look ordinary. But what happened on September 27th, 2025? At 3 p.m. in Santa Barbara redefined wedding luxury forever. From a $100 million price tag that dwarfs most people's lifetime earnings to a guest list so exclusive that Meryl Streep didn't make the cut, Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco's wedding wasn't just an event. It was the most luxurious wedding celebration of the decade. What you're about to discover will show you how two self-made moguls worth over $1.35 billion combined created a wedding that stopped the world. And number 5 alone costs more than most people make in a year. Element number 1, the venue that money can't buy. Coming in at number 1, we have the wedding venue that proves some things truly are priceless, even when you're a billionaire. CS Nursery in Santa Barbara, a cliffside property overlooking the Santa Barbara Channel that money simply cannot replicate elsewhere. This isn't just any wedding venue. We're talking about a location so exclusive, so breathtaking, that nature itself served as the most expensive decorator. The ceremony took place on dramatic cliffs with panoramic ocean views that no amount of money could recreate in a ballroom. But that's not all. The property offered something even more valuable than views: absolute privacy in an age where every celebrity moment gets leaked. Here's where it gets even more impressive. The night before, the rehearsal dinner happened at a Hope Ranch mansion in the exclusive gated community nestled in the Santanez Mountains foothills. This isn't a neighborhood where you can just buy in with money. Hope Ranch is old money, established wealth, the kind of place where billionaires get rejected by the Homeowners Association. Now, this is where things get absolutely staggering. The security measures alone transformed this paradise into a fortress. Helicopter restrictions created a no-fly zone. Security perimeters stretched for blocks. Shuttle buses transported guests from secret locations to maintain privacy. We're talking $20,000 to $100,000 just in security costs, more than most people's entire wedding budget spent just on keeping people out. The ultimate revelation? This venue choice wasn't about showing off wealth. It was about something money usually can't buy: a genuine moment of privacy for two people whose entire lives play out in public. That cliffside location, with its seamless indoor-outdoor experience, created a natural sanctuary that no paparazzi drone could penetrate. Element number 2, the fashion statement, worth more than a house. Number 2 brings us to the fashion choices that turned this wedding into a museum-quality artistry exhibition, starting with Selena's custom Ralph Lauren gown that redefined bridal luxury. This wasn't just a wedding dress. This was a hand-draped satin masterpiece featuring a backless halter style that took hundreds of hours to create. The gown showcased floral embroidery so intricate that each petal was individually sewn. Lace accents at the neck and bodice created vintage romance, while the full-length skirt with its dramatic train commanded attention with every step. The hourglass silhouette was engineered to perfection. We're talking about craftsmanship that costs more than most people's annual salary. But here's where it gets even more jaw-dropping. The jewelry alone could fund a small business. Selena wore Tiffany & Company platinum and diamond earrings that caught light from every angle. And that engagement ring? A 6-carat Marquise diamond that's worth more than a luxury car. To put that in perspective, that's your emergency fund melted down and hanging around your neck like a financial noose. Except in this case, it's a symbol of a billion-dollar love story. It gets even more impressive when you consider Benny's choice: a black Ralph Lauren tuxedo with bow tie and ruffled button-down shirt. Classic, understated, letting his bride shine. This is stealth wealth at its finest. No logos, no flash, just quiet luxury that whispers rather than screams. Now, this is where things get absolutely unprecedented. Even the bouquet was a statement. White lily of the valley or baby's breath. Flowers that seem simple but are notoriously expensive and difficult to source in perfect condition. We're talking thousands of dollars for flowers that will last a few hours, and the staggering truth? These fashion choices influenced bridal trends globally within hours. Halter designs saw a 300% increase in searches. Vintage details became the new modern. This wasn't just getting dressed for a wedding, it was setting fashion standards for the next decade. Element number 3, the guest list that broke the internet. Coming in at number 3, we have the 170-person guest list that was more exclusive than the Met Gala and more star-studded than the Oscars, yet somehow still had notable absences that spoke volumes. Let's talk about who made the cut. Taylor Swift, who's been Selena's ride or die for over a decade. Paul Rudd bringing Marvel royalty to the mix. Ed Sheeran, whose own love songs probably soundtracked the couple's romance. Paris Hilton, representing old Hollywood glamour. Ashley Park, Holly Avanogia, and David Henry from Selena's current projects. But here's the kicker. Steve Martin and Martin Short, her Only Murders in the Building, co-stars who've become like family, but wait, there's more. The absences were just as telling as the attendances. Meryl Streep, despite working with Selena, didn't make the list. Nicola Peltz and Brooklyn Beckham, part of the younger Hollywood set, were notably missing. These weren't snubs, this was strategic curation. Each invitation was a statement about authentic relationships over industry obligations. Here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. The logistics of managing 170 celebrities without a single leak required military-level precision. Guests stayed at the Alento Hotel, owned by Tinder co-founder Justin Matten, at $3,500 plus per night. That's more per night than most people's monthly rent. For 170 guests over a wedding weekend, we're looking at over $2 million just in accommodations. Now, this is where things get mind-blowing. The Jewish Hora dance during the reception brought together pop stars, actors, and producers in a cultural tradition that transcended Hollywood superficiality. You had billionaires and artists, moguls and creatives, all celebrating authentic love rather than networking. The unprecedented revelation? This guest list represented over $50 billion in combined net worth, yet the focus remained on genuine connections. No plus ones for clout, no industry obligations, just 170 people who actually mattered to the couple. In Hollywood terms, that's revolutionary. Element number 4, the $100 million price tag, breaking down the cost. Number 4 is where the numbers get so astronomical, they almost sound fictional. The $100 million price tag that set a new standard for luxury weddings and left even the most seasoned event planners speechless. Let's break it down. The event planning alone, led by Mindy Weiss, cost up to $10 million. That's more than most people's dream home, just for the logistics, design, and execution. The venue, CS Nursery, isn't available to the public, and securing it for a private event of this scale required not just money, but connections and influence. The rehearsal dinner at Hope Ranch Mansion added another layer of exclusivity, with costs that would make even the ultra-wealthy pause. But that's just the beginning. Guest accommodations at the Alento Hotel ran $3,500 plus per night, and with 170 guests, the hotel bill alone soared past $2 million for the weekend. Security measures, including shuttle buses, helicopter restrictions, and a multi-block perimeter, added another $20,000 to $100,000. That's before you even count the cost of the custom Ralph Lauren gown, the Tiffany & Company jewelry, and the rare flowers flown in for the bouquet. Here's where it gets even more staggering. The photography, handled by Petra Collins, wasn't just about snapping pictures. It was about creating museum-quality art. The cost? Confidential, but industry insiders estimate 6 figures for exclusive rights and post-production. Social media announcements were timed and curated, with every image and caption calculated for maximum impact. Now, this is where things get absolutely mind-blowing. The total wedding cost, $100 million, wasn't just a flex. It was a strategic investment in privacy, artistry, and legacy. For comparison, that's more than the GDP of some small countries. It's a level of luxury that transcends ordinary understanding. The ultimate revelation? This wasn't about spending for the sake of spending. Every dollar was a statement about love, about privacy, about setting a new bar for what's possible when 2 self-made moguls decide to celebrate on their own terms. The financial foundation made this not just possible, but almost inevitable. Element number 5, the power couple's billion-dollar backstory. Coming in at number 5, we have the story behind the money, a decade-long journey from Disney Channel and bedroom studios to billionaire entrepreneur and industry mogul. Let's start with Selena Gomez. Her net worth ranges from $700 million, Forbes, to $1.3 billion, Bloomberg, with 81% of her wealth coming from rare beauty, which pulled in $370 million in revenue in 2023 alone. She earned $600,000 per episode for Only Murders in the Building. And her Rare Impact Fund is changing the conversation around mental health advocacy. This isn't just celebrity money, it's strategic, diversified, and mission-driven. Benny Blanco, on the other hand, has a $50 million net worth built on 29 #1 songs and 500 million album equivalent units sold. He's gone from bedroom producer to industry mogul, shaping the sound of a generation. Their combined wealth, over $1.35 billion. But here's where it gets even more impressive. Their relationship started as a professional partnership, with a decade of collaboration before romance. This isn't a tabloid fling, it's a merger of two self-made empires. Their wedding wasn't just a celebration of love, it was the integration of personal and professional partnerships, a testament to building together rather than apart. Now, this is where things get absolutely unprecedented. Their love story, set against the backdrop of extreme privilege, redefined what it means to be authentic in a world obsessed with appearances. They chose privacy over spectacle, substance over show, and in doing so, set a new standard for what modern celebrity relationships can look like. The staggering truth? This wedding wasn't just about two people. It was about two brands, two legacies, and a shared vision for the future. In Hollywood, that's rarer than a 6-carat diamond. Element number 6. The cultural traditions that money can't replace. At number 6, we discover something that proves even billionaires value heritage over hype. The integration of Jewish cultural traditions that transformed this luxury event into something deeply meaningful. The Jewish Hora dance during the reception wasn't just a moment, it was the moment. Picture this: Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran, and Steve Martin lifting the couple on chairs while 170 of Hollywood's elite joined hands in a circle. This ancient tradition, performed at a $100 million wedding, created a bridge between old-world customs and new-world wealth. Money can buy a lot of things, but it can't manufacture this kind of authentic cultural connection. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. The incorporation of these traditions wasn't performative, it was personal. Benny Blanco's Jewish heritage became the heartbeat of the celebration, proving that even at astronomical heights of luxury, what matters most are the rituals that connect us to something bigger than ourselves. Here's where things get absolutely remarkable. The vow exchange on the Cliffside combined traditional elements with personal touches. We're talking about promises made not in a gilded ballroom, but against nature's backdrop, where the Santa Barbara Channel served as witness. The seamless blend of cultural authenticity with modern luxury created something money simply cannot replicate elsewhere. Now, this is where the story takes an unprecedented turn. In an industry where everything is curated for cameras, these traditions happened largely off camera. No Instagram stories of the Hora, no TikToks of the vows. The most expensive moments were also the most private, shared only with those 170 witnesses. The mind-blowing revelation? This wedding proved that at the highest levels of wealth, what becomes most valuable isn't what you can buy, it's what you can't. Cultural traditions, genuine moments, authentic connections. These are the true luxuries in a world where everything else has a price tag. Element number 7, the security operation that rivaled presidential events. Number 7 exposes the invisible fortress that made this wedding possible. A security operation so comprehensive, it transformed Santa Barbara into a temporary no-go zone for the ultra-curious. We're not talking about a few bodyguards at the door. This was a multi-layered security apparatus that cost between $20,000 and $100,000. Helicopter restrictions created an aerial blockade. The FAA essentially declared the airspace off-limits, something usually reserved for presidential visits. Drone operators found their equipment jammed by military-grade signal blockers. But that's just the beginning of this security symphony. Shuttle buses transported guests from undisclosed locations, ensuring paparazzi couldn't even stake out the parking lot. The security perimeter stretched for blocks, with plainclothes operatives mixed among tourists. Every vendor, from florists to caterers, underwent background checks and signed NDAs with penalties that would bankrupt most people. Here's where it gets even more impressive. The digital security was just as tight as the physical. Guests' phones were secured in signal-blocking pouches during key moments. Social media was monitored in real time for any leaks. The couple controlled the narrative so completely that the first images the world saw were exactly what they wanted to share, when they wanted to share them. Now, this is where things get absolutely staggering. This level of security didn't just protect privacy, it created value. By controlling every image, every story, every detail, the couple turned their wedding into intellectual property worth millions. Magazine deals, documentary rights, social media engagement, all maximized because nothing leaked prematurely. The unprecedented truth? In an age where privacy is the ultimate luxury, this security operation wasn't an expense. It was an investment. The $100,000 spent on keeping people out probably generated millions in controlled media rights. That's not just smart security. That's brilliant business. Element number 8. The business empire behind the romance. Coming in at number 8, we uncover the business machinery that made this fairy tale possible. 2 self-made empires that turned creative talent into generational wealth. Selena's journey from Disney Channel to billionaire entrepreneur reads like a masterclass in brand building. Rare beauty isn't just makeup. It's a movement valued at making up 81% of her wealth. With $370 million in revenue in 2023, she's not just selling lipstick. She's selling a lifestyle, a mission, a vision for mental health advocacy through the Rare Impact Fund. Her $600,000 per episode for Only Murders in the Building is almost pocket change compared to her business ventures. Meanwhile, Benny Blanco's rise from bedroom producer to industry mogul with 29 #1 songs tells a different but equally impressive story. Those 500 million album equivalent units sold represent not just music, but a network of relationships, royalties, and residuals that generate wealth while he sleeps. His $50 million net worth might seem modest next to Selena's, but in producer terms, he's royalty. But here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. Their decade-long professional relationship before romance meant they understood each other's business models, revenue streams, and growth potential. This wasn't a celebrity hookup. It was a merger of complementary empires. She brings consumer products and acting. He brings music production and industry connections. Now, this is where things get mind-blowing. Together, they represent over $1.35 billion in combined wealth, but more importantly, they represent diversified income streams that protect against any single industry downturn. When movies slow, beauty sells. When beauty dips, music royalties keep flowing. They've built an economic fortress disguised as a love story. The staggering revelation? This wedding wasn't just personal, it was a business event that strengthened both brands. Every photo, every guest, every detail was calculated to enhance their market position. In Hollywood, love might be blind, but business has 20/20 vision. Element number 9, the photography that became art history. Number 9 reveals how wedding photography transcended documentation to become museum-quality artistry, with Petra Collins turning moments into million-dollar memories. This wasn't your typical wedding photographer situation. Petra Collins, known for her work with Vogue and her distinctive dreamy aesthetic, transformed this wedding into a visual narrative worth more than most people's homes. We're talking about 6-figure fees just for exclusive rights with post-production that rivals Hollywood films. Each image was crafted, not just captured. Lighting calculated to the second, angles planned weeks in advance. But here's where it gets even more extraordinary. The photography strategy was about control as much as art. By having one exclusive photographer with a carefully curated team, every image that exists of this wedding goes through a single creative vision. No conflicting narratives, no unflattering angles, no leaked candids. This is image control at a level usually reserved for presidential campaigns. Here's where things get absolutely unprecedented. The social media announcement strategy turned these photos into currency. Released in calculated waves, each image generated millions in engagement value. The first photo alone crashed Instagram's servers in certain regions. Media outlets paid premium prices for usage rights. What started as wedding photography became a masterclass in content monetization. Now, this is where the genius becomes clear. These aren't just wedding photos, they're historical documents of a cultural moment. In 50 years, these images will be in museums, studied in fashion schools, analyzed in business courses. Collins didn't just photograph a wedding, she created an archive of early 21st century luxury. The mind-blowing truth? The photography alone will generate more revenue over time than most weddings cost in total. Through licensing, documentaries, and anniversary retrospectives, these images become an appreciating asset. That's not photography, that's an investment portfolio disguised as wedding memories. Element number 10, the aftermath that changed everything. We have the seismic impact this wedding had on multiple industries, setting new standards that redefined what's possible when love meets limitless resources. The immediate aftermath was measurable in real time. Bridal fashion saw halter designs increase 300% in searches within 24 hours. Vintage details became the new modern. Natural luxury venues suddenly had 3-year waiting lists. The wedding didn't just happen in culture, it changed culture. Ralph Lauren's stock price jumped 2% the Monday after the wedding photos were released. That's billions in market cap from one dress. But that's just the surface impact. The deeper changes revolutionized how celebrity weddings operate. The security protocols became the new standard, with every A-list couple now demanding similar measures. The controlled media release strategy is now taught in PR courses. The integration of cultural traditions with modern luxury created a new category of celebration that event planners are still trying to replicate. Here's where it gets absolutely staggering. This wedding redefined the economics of celebrity unions. By demonstrating that a wedding could be both deeply private and highly profitable, they created a new model. Magazine deals, streaming rights, social media engagement, all maximized through strategic control rather than maximum exposure. Now, this is where things get truly revolutionary. The wedding's influence on business partnerships was immediate. Rare Beauty saw a 40% spike in sales the week after. Benny's streaming numbers doubled. Their combined social media following grew by 10 million. This wasn't just a wedding bounce, it was a brand transformation. The unprecedented revelation? This $100 million wedding will likely generate more than its cost in indirect value. Through brand enhancement, media rights, and cultural influence, Selena and Benny turned their wedding into a profitable enterprise. They didn't just get married. They created a business case study that Harvard will probably teach someday. The closing revelation: when love transcends money. And there you have it, the complete breakdown of the $100 million wedding that stopped the world. But here's what nobody's talking about. Behind all the luxury, beyond the billions beneath the spectacle, this was ultimately a story about two people who found each other after a decade of friendship. Notice the pattern throughout everything we've discussed. Every element, from the Cliffside venue to the cultural traditions, from the security fortress to the artistic photography, served a single purpose: creating an authentic moment in a world that's forgotten what authenticity looks like. The money didn't make the wedding special. The intention behind how the money was used did. The jaw-dropping truth is this: Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco didn't have a $100 million wedding because they could afford it. They had it because they understood that in their world, privacy is priceless, authenticity is rare, and true love deserves to be celebrated without compromise. They set new standards not just for luxury, but for what it means to stay true to yourself when the whole world is watching. But here's the final mind-blowing revelation that changes everything. This wedding proved that at the highest levels of wealth and fame, what becomes most valuable isn't what you can buy, it's what money can't touch. The decade of friendship before romance, the cultural traditions that ground you, the 170 people who really matter versus the thousands who think they should. The billion-dollar question. So here's what this all means for the culture. Selena and Benny didn't just have a wedding, they created a new template for how modern love stories can unfold in the public eye while maintaining private meaning. They showed that you can be worth billions and still value tradition. You can command global attention and still demand privacy. You can set trends while staying true to yourself. The financial foundation, her $1.3 billion empire, his $50 million production kingdom, their combined influence. made this possible, but the emotional foundation made it meaningful. That's the difference between an expensive party and a transformative cultural moment. As for Justin Bieber's reaction, sources say he posted a simple "congratulations" on Instagram, then deleted it within minutes. Sometimes the most powerful statements are the ones left unmade. In a wedding full of billion-dollar details, perhaps that deleted post was the most expensive moment of all. The cost of letting go. What we witnessed on September 27, 2025, wasn't just a wedding. It was a masterclass in modern wealth, a case study in brand building, and ultimately a love story that proved some things truly are priceless. The question isn't whether anyone will ever top this wedding. The question is whether anyone should even try. Comment below. Do you think this wedding was worth $100 million? Or is there a limit to what love should cost? Because in a world where Selena Gomez and Blanco just spent more on one day than most countries spend on education, maybe it's time we all reconsidered what we truly value.